She demanded a prenup to protect us. Then I found her $47,000 secret debt, so I canceled the wedding, sent her a photo of me at the bar with my groomsmen, and let karma teach her what honesty costs. We'd been us for 2 years. I'm 31, she's 29. We got engaged on March 12th and booked our favorite spot on the river for October. Friday nights were ours, takeout, old movies, and plans that felt silly and absolute. Everything felt normal until a single Tuesday night. At Leona's bistro, rain traced the window. Her phone was face down. Between bites, she said, "We should protect ourselves." It sounded casual, but the phrase kept pulling at me. When she went to the restroom, I looked at our planning folder. In the budget sheet, a transfer showed $28,400 from her account 3 weeks earlier. There were late notices and a recurring label, PRIV loan. I called the lender's number and saved screenshots. My hands went cold. Back home, I spread the screenshots on the counter. She shook rain from her coat and stopped when she saw my phone. "You checked my phone?" she asked. I said, "I checked our money." She pushed a strand of hair behind her ear and said, "It's school loans." The answer felt too small. She pushed her plate away. I stood by the window watching the river. She spoke in fragments. Her father's business failed, credit lines closed, bills stacked. She'd taken private loans to keep things afloat. She looked at my hands the way someone waits for a verdict. I gripped the counter until my knuckles hurt. I told her I needed honesty. She said she didn't want to be a burden. The prenup comment made sense then. It wasn't about fairness. It was about hiding the truth. She gathered her purse. "Maybe we pause," she said. I couldn't marry someone who'd kept this from me. She left. The door clicked behind her. The apartment smelled of cold coffee and regret. I canceled the venue that night. Typing the cancellation felt like folding a letter and setting it alight. I called twice. Calls went to voicemail. I took a photo at O'Malley's bar with 3 friends, neon blurred behind us, and sent it with one line. Venue canceled. Drinks on me. Mark. I wanted the picture to mark an end. Her voicemail was panicked. "Please call me back. It's not what you think." Listening, I realized she was more afraid of being found out than sorry. That thought hit harder than anger. 2 weeks passed. Work filled my days. Then she messaged, "I didn't lie to hurt you. I was scared. Please meet me. I can explain." I agreed. Tomorrow. Noon. Riverfront Cafe. At the cafe, she looked tired and smaller. No makeup, hair tied back. She showed me loan statements, credit cards, a personal loan, and a payday loan. The total was nearly $50,000. She said she was trying to fix it quietly. I felt a mixture of pity and a hard edge I couldn't soften. She had asked for protection, but protection had been a shield for secrecy. I left 20 on the table and said, "You wanted safety. You lost honesty instead." The river outside moved on as if this had always been part of its flow. I left Leona's and walked in the rain without an umbrella, not because I wanted to get wet, but because movement felt necessary. My mind replayed tiny moments. Her laugh at the sink, the way she folded napkins, our plans for a honeymoon we never booked. At home, the screenshots felt heavier than paper. Each number was a secret ledger I hadn't been invited to read. Trust had been strained into wire. A month passed. I didn't answer her calls, and she stopped leaving voicemails. I threw myself into work and the gym, anything that made the hours disappear faster. Friends said things like, "You dodged a bullet," and maybe they were right, but it didn't feel like victory. It felt like cleaning out a house you used to love. One evening, she texted again. "Please, Mark. I just need to talk. 5 minutes." I didn't answer. I wasn't ready. But that message lived in my head for days. When I finally saw her again, it wasn't planned. She was in the grocery store's self-checkout line, arguing softly with the machine. The guy behind her, Dylan, was the same one who used to text her during dinner. "Just a friend," she'd once said. Seeing them together didn't sting the way I expected. It just felt tired. She saw me, froze, then forced a polite smile. I nodded and walked past. Later that night, one of our mutual friends mentioned she'd moved in with Dylan. I remember saying, "Good for her," and meaning it in the dullest way possible. But karma, I learned, doesn't keep schedules, it just waits. 3 months later, her mom called. I hadn't heard from her since the engagement party. Her voice shook when she said, "Mark, I just thought you should know. Claire's not doing well. Dylan left after finding out about the loans. She's trying to sort things out." I sat there, silent, listening to a story that sounded like a consequence more than gossip. When the call ended, I didn't feel joy or sadness. Just quiet. That night, I opened my photo folder and deleted everything. The engagement pictures, her laughing in the kitchen, the half-written wedding vows. It took seconds, but it felt like months lifting off my chest. Then I deleted her number. Weeks later, she texted from a new number. "You were right. I wasn't protecting us. I was protecting a lie. I'm sorry." I didn't reply. Some endings don't need responses. The peace that followed was different from happiness. It was steady. I went running in the mornings, spent weekends hiking, and reconnected with friends I'd ignored. Life got smaller, but cleaner. One Sunday, months later, I opened my door to find her standing there. Hair a mess, eyes tired, holding a small box. Inside was the engagement ring. "I just need 5 minutes," she said, echoing her old message. I stepped aside. She sat at the edge of the couch, fingers twisting together. "I know you don't owe me anything," she said quietly. "I just wanted you to know I'm paying off the debt. I'm working 2 jobs. I sold my car. I'm not here to fix things. I just needed to tell you that I'm trying." She looked older somehow, as if life had taken pieces of her but left something more honest behind. I nodded. "Good," I said. "You're doing what you should have done from the start, being honest." She asked softly, "Do you ever think about us?" I thought for a second. "Sometimes. But I think more about the version of you I thought I knew." She blinked hard, then smiled faintly. "You deserve someone better." "I know," I said. "So do you." When she stood to leave, she hesitated at the door. "You were the best thing I ever lost," she said, and walked away. I watched her go, not out of longing, but closure. It was the first time her words didn't leave a scar. A year later, her name showed up again, but this time, in an article headline. "From Debt to Design: How One Artist Rebuilt Her Life." The photo showed her smiling, stronger. She'd started her own art studio, teaching people about financial honesty. I smiled at the irony. Maybe karma hadn't punished her. Maybe it had educated her. And in that moment, I realized revenge isn't always about watching someone fall. Sometimes, it's about standing so tall they can never touch you again. 7 months had passed since that knock on my door. By then, my life had shifted, slowly but solidly. I'd moved downtown, into a place that didn't echo with old memories. The walls felt clean. My mornings started with coffee and silence instead of anxiety. I even started painting again, something I hadn't touched since before Claire. It was a random Tuesday when it happened. I was walking back from the gym when I saw someone sitting on the steps outside my building. Claire looked smaller in person, like someone who had learned the hard way that life doesn't hand out soft landings. She held a coffee cup in both hands like it was keeping her warm. "Hey," she said, barely above a whisper. "I didn't know if you'd still live here." I didn't speak for a moment. Then I said, "You probably shouldn't be here." "I know," she said. "I just need to say a few things." "Please." There was something in her tone, something that wasn't manipulation anymore, just exhaustion. I stepped aside, motioning toward the hallway. Inside, she looked around like she didn't recognize the space. "You redecorated," she said. "I had to," I replied. "The old stuff didn't fit anymore." She nodded, then took a slow breath. After Dylan left, everything went downhill fast. I was getting calls from debt collectors, my job cut my hours, and my mom had to sell jewelry to help me pay rent. Her voice stayed steady, but it carried a weight that didn't need tears. "I didn't realize how much I depended on you," she said quietly. "You were my anchor, and I ruined it." I crossed my arms. "You didn't ruin it, Claire. You traded it, for control, for pride, maybe fear. But that was your choice." Her eyes flicked up at me. "I know. I thought I was protecting you. Or maybe myself. I don't even know anymore." She let out a small laugh that wasn't happy. "You don't need to forgive me. I just didn't want the last version of me you remember to be the one lying to you." She reached into her purse and pulled out the engagement ring. "I kept it all this time. I couldn't sell it. I wanted to, but it felt wrong." She set it on the table. "I paid off half my debt. I'm freelancing, working nights. It's hard, but I'm finally not hiding." I studied her for a moment. She looked honest, tired, but real. Not the person who'd once smiled through secrets. "Do you ever think about us?" she asked quietly. I thought about how much I used to replay our moments, our weekend routines, the stupid arguments about TV shows, the promises we made. But that was gone now, like an old photograph faded by sunlight. "I used to," I said, "every night for a while. But then I realized I wasn't missing you. I was missing who I thought you were." That hit her. She blinked, nodded once, and said, "You deserve someone who won't make you doubt everything." "I know," I said. "And maybe you'll find that too, when you stop lying to yourself." She smiled faintly through what I think were real tears this time. "You were the best thing I ever lost." Then she walked out. No big goodbye. No looking back. For a long while after, I just stared at that ring on the table. It didn't hurt anymore. It just reminded me of how far I'd come. A year later, I was at the airport waiting for a flight to Austin. On the newsstand shelf was a local magazine. I picked it up absent-mindedly, then froze for a second. Her face was on the cover. The headline read, "From Debt to Design: How One Woman Rebuilt Her Life." I read the whole article. She'd started a small digital design studio, helped people manage financial stress, and even held workshops about honesty in relationships. She'd turned her mistakes into something useful. I smiled, not out of nostalgia, but respect. Karma didn't crush her, it taught her. 6 months later, I met someone new. Her name's Harper. No games, we talk about everything, especially the hard stuff. When I told her about Claire, she said, "Sounds like you both learned the same lesson, just in different ways." Maybe she's right. Now that the ring sits in my drawer, not as a reminder of heartbreak, but of balance. 1 year later, life looked completely different. My apartment wasn't just a place anymore, it felt like mine. The quiet didn't sting, it comforted me. The routines I'd built were steady, honest, and peaceful. For the first time in years, there wasn't anything to hide from. The strange thing about peace is that it never announces itself. It just arrives one morning when you realize you don't think about the past every day. That morning, I boarded a flight to Austin for a tech conference. During a long layover, I grabbed a coffee and picked up one of those glossy lifestyle magazines from a stand near the gate. I wasn't looking for anything, just passing time. Then I saw her name. From Debt to Design, How One Artist Rebuilt Her Life. There she was, on the cover, Claire. Hair shorter, smile calm, eyes different. Not the nervous kind I'd once known. The article talked about her new digital art studio, how she'd paid off her debt, and how she now gave workshops on financial honesty in relationships. I read every line. She'd actually done it, rebuilt her life. And strangely, I felt proud. Maybe karma hadn't punished her after all. It had guided her. It didn't crush her, it shaped her. When I landed in Austin, I sat in the terminal for a few minutes, thinking about everything. Anger had burned out of me over time. How forgiveness, in its quiet way, had replaced revenge. Not for her, but for me. 6 months later, I met Harper. It started simple, coffee after a conference session. She had a quick wit, a calm energy, and a laugh that didn't sound rehearsed. Something was refreshing about how grounded she was. No games, no half-stories. On our second date, I told her the whole story. About the engagement, the prenup, the secret debt, everything. I expected her to pull back, maybe even pity me. But she didn't. She just nodded and said, "Then you already know what you won't tolerate again." She was right. We've been together ever since. And this time, it feels real. A few months ago, Harper asked me, "What would you do if Claire ever reached out again?" I laughed. She doesn't need me anymore. And that's the point. That night, I opened the drawer where the old engagement ring still sat. For a long time, I kept it out of habit. Now, it's a reminder, not of pain, but of progress. Love isn't about protection. It's about partnership. Claire wanted safety. I wanted honesty. And in the end, we both found what we were looking for, just not in each other. I still think about that night at Leona's bistro sometimes. The rain on the window, the sound of her fork against the plate, the way one small sentence changed everything. Back then, I thought I'd lost everything. Now, I see it differently. I didn't lose anything. I gained perspective. She learned the cost of secrets. I learned the value of peace. So, that's where my story ends. No dramatic revenge, no explosion of payback. Just two people who took different roads, each paying their own dues. And if I'm being honest, that's the most satisfying kind of karma there is. It's been almost 2 years since that prenup night at Leona's bistro, and sometimes I still replay it. Not out of bitterness, but curiosity. How one quiet dinner turned into the beginning of the end, and somehow, the start of something better. Life feels balanced now. I've moved again, closer to the coast. My days are steady. Morning jogs, work, dinner with Harper, and sometimes long walks by the pier when I just need quiet. I've stopped checking the past like it owes me closure. I already got that. Then, out of nowhere, I received an email with the subject line, "Long time no see." It was from Claire. For a second, my heart did that old familiar skip, not from love, but memory. The message was short. "Hey Mark, I don't expect you to reply. I just wanted to thank you. I'm in a better place now, not just financially, but mentally. You were right back then. Secrets destroy more than they protect. I finally understand that. I hope life's been kind to you. Claire." I sat there, staring at the screen. There was no anger, no pain, just a quiet sense of completion. I didn't reply, not because I was cold, but because some stories deserve to stay finished. That night, Harper noticed me staring at the laptop. "Old ghosts?" she asked. "Just a message," I said. She smiled. "You okay?" "Yeah," I said. "Better than okay." Later, I went out to the balcony. The sky was pale blue, city lights blinking below. I thought about how much had changed, not just in circumstances, but in me. I used to crave revenge. I wanted her to feel what I felt, the betrayal, the humiliation, the loss. But now, I realize revenge isn't peace. Watching her rebuild, seeing her finally take responsibility, that was enough. Karma didn't hit her like lightning. It whispered lessons through sleepless nights, through debt notices and quiet loneliness. It made her rebuild herself from the ground up. That's a better kind of justice, the kind that teaches, not destroys. And me? I got my own kind of karma too, peace, growth, and someone who doesn't hide behind fine print. A few weeks later, Harper and I were cleaning out drawers when she found the old ring box. She opened it, looked at me, and said softly, "Is this it?" "Yeah," I said. "That's the past. What do you want to do with it?" I thought for a moment. Maybe nothing. It's not a symbol of failure anymore. It's proof I learned what not to ignore. She smiled. "That's fair." We put it back, not buried, not displayed. Just there, quiet, like a closed chapter. If someone had told me 2 years ago that I'd thank that night for everything that followed, I'd have called them crazy. But now I get it. Losing someone dishonest can be the luckiest thing that ever happens to you. Because peace, real peace, doesn't come when someone apologizes. It comes when you stop waiting for them to. So that's how it ended. Not with a dramatic confrontation, but a quiet kind of balance. She found her lesson. I found my life.